guys, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. I know it's been forever, but today we're gonna try something a little bit different. We're gonna try reviewing the new season of Ready to Love, which comes on the Oprah Winfrey Network, and we're just gonna jump right in since the season has already started, and we're gonna start by reviewing episode 3. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. All right, so if I do look down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. The show starts out with a quick recap. So we know, of course, last week, Christian and Khalil, they both went home. And so this week, Uncle Tommy comes in and lets us know that it's time to even the score. So it starts off with like a cute little brunch. So all the ladies and all the men are there. And basically, it's time for the ladies to work overtime because Uncle Tommy lets us know that at the end of the brunch, one of the ladies will be leaving. And then we switch over to instantly Troy, who is 51 years old and still acts like he is like in college or something. Starts out by letting half of the cast, by the cast I mean like half of the women there, to let them know that, you're my number one, you need a real man. He said that to Alexis, he said that to Chrysanthemum, if I said that correctly. And he also is talking to Amber, and I was just like, oh my goodness, like how many people is he gonna say this to? Like, he's trash. We already know he's trash. He's clearly just there for ratings. And then we move over to Chris and Amber, who I think they do have a good little rapport, a good little vibe. I do not like the fact that Chris started out by talking about the past and bringing up Naya, which is from last season. But anyway, they seem to have a really good vibe, and he likes her, and we are yet to find out if she likes him at this point. So we switch over to the next couple having conversation, AJ and Andrea, and basically he lets us know that he's not really feeling her, and of course the feeling is mutual because she says the conversation was quite dry. And then we move over to Stacy, which from last week's episode, if we've been watching, we already know she is completely smitten with AJ. But then during their conversations, Ida comes over and she's a bit annoyed, which is understandable because this is the second date that we're seeing where she's talking to someone and Ida comes over and says, oh, can I join you guys? Which of course no one is able to connect with someone if there's a third person there trying to make conversation. So I completely understand why she was annoyed. She was like, there's 7 other men here. And then we move over to David, who I think is one of the nicer older gentlemen. I think he's 44 years old. And we see him talking to the comedian. I think her name is Tanisha or something like that. Yeah, we see him talking to Tressa and the other lady who he had an affection for. And basically he's letting them know that he doesn't believe in premarital sex. And Tressa is just like, oh, that's not gonna work for her. You know, we're in our 40s and she needs to know what that do, And of course, immediately, just like we've been seeing, she gets, I guess, not really friend zoned, but homegirl zoned, because everyone we've seen so far who has spoken to her automatically says, oh yeah, she's cool, but for a homegirl. And basically David does the same. And then we move over to the next couple having a conversation, which is Ida and Dietrich. And basically he wasn't feeling her last episode because he felt like, she was joking around too much. I think she's hilarious, but yeah, he lets her know that he is attracted to her physically, but it cannot be all fun and games. Like, she needs to be serious. They need to get to know each other on a deeper level. That being the case, I guess we really should not have been surprised, but then Uncle Tommy came in and basically announced that the first woman that's going home for this episode would be Ida. I was surprised and she was surprised. I mean, her eyes literally went, you could tell that she did not expect to go home so soon. I honestly thought Andrea would have been voted out before her, but I think because she's so jokey and she comes off a bit, strong, I think that's the reason why. And so basically, yeah, she went home and she looked really sad, when she was going home. She joked through it, but you could tell that she was a bit sad by it. And she said all the men who were grabbing and touching on her owe her an explanation. Okay, so we switched to one-on-one dates, and AJ and Alexis are the first one-on-one date that we're seeing. And they went to like a candle making place, and it was nice. It was cool. I think the idea for a date was really nice. And it started out going really well. I think they were vibing nicely. And then it took a turn because Alexis is very, how do I put this nicely? Like, she's too forward. She needs to chill. She started making a lot of sexual jokes. And I think after the first, the first one or two were cool. And then when it got to like maybe the 10th or 12th, of course, AJ, he looked a little bit uncomfortable. She got to touching on his beard and everything. And he basically let us know that he's okay with like sexual attraction. Of course, he wants that, but he's ultimately there to connect with someone on a deeper level. And with her making all the sex jokes, I mean, she was coming heavy with the sex jokes. She said something like, "Oh, it's hard," and he looked so uncomfortable. I think she doesn't do well with social cues because she's unable to see when something is a bit inappropriate or when someone is like not cool with what she's saying. Anyway, moving on from them, we go on to our next one-on-one date, which we see are Jason and Kyra. I like them a lot. As soon as she walks up, he tells us, "Oh, she's so beautiful." He compliments her dressing. He seems to like her a lot. I think she's still feeling him out. And their date was like an outdoor, very chill sit-down date. They were having ice cream, and their vibe was good. It seemed effortless. It seemed relaxed. And then he mentioned that he, had a little issue with depression in the past. And immediately she lets us know that's something that she's going to look to see if it's going to become a red flag because she's dealt with that before. But then he goes on to mention that he has dealt with it. He has been to therapy, and she seemed to be very receptive towards him. So I think they're going to go, so far they're looking like a promising couple. Then the tempo switches up and we move on to the first group date of the episode, and it's a lot of people, y'all. So I wrote down the names. We have Joel, we have David, we have Troy, we got Tanisha, we got Amber, we got Andrea, and we got Liz. So they're all at like a paint and sip type of vibe. They were painting and drinking essentially, and I mean the vibe was good amongst different people. Andrea lets us know that she is feeling Troy, and I mean immediately he says that, the camera cuts to Amber walking in and she decides to sit with Andrea and Troy. And I mean the way his eyes were roaming, you could tell that he wasn't even hearing anything Andrea was saying. He is, did I say this already? Because I meant to say it again, he is trash. Okay, like we already know. I'm dying for him to leave. Troy starts flirting with Amber, making dirty jokes and whatnot. And I mean, I think she's very self-aware. She is not the one to be fooled with, because even when he's making the jokes, she's looking at him like, sir, please. You know what I mean? Because she said something about what color should she use on the wood that they're painting on. And he's like, "Oh, you want to know what goes on the wood?" And yeah, she was not feeling it. She knows how to like not make someone feel offended or uncomfortable, but you can tell when she's not going for a vibe. Obviously, Andrea was just on the other side looking hella uncomfortable. And, when she gets uncomfortable, she does these weird innuendos like, "What? What?" Yeah, she does that a lot, but she was clearly uncomfortable. Then we see Joel and Liz, and they seem to have a really good vibe. I think there's a mutual liking there. She seems to like him a lot, and he seems to like her as well. They seem to have a good vibe together. Then we cut to Joel again, talking to Andrea, and for the life of me, I think since the past 2 episodes, he keeps doing this thing where he's bringing up destinations, like going to Milan or Italy or Paris. I don't know if he thinks women are generally impressed by him saying he can take them to a destination. So he brings that up and says to Andrea that they can go on their first date to, I believe it was Italy, and then he couldn't just leave it there. He had to go as far as to say, and they can conceive their first child there. Amber was at the side looking at him like, "Sir, what?" Like, she looked so irritated and just like, no. So we move over to Vernisha. Earlier, I think I said her name was Tanisha, but no, it's Vernisha. She lets us know that she likes Joel a lot. He's very attentive. He came over to check on her, and she's with it. She's feeling him the most out of all the men. We take a quick switch back to Amber, who is noticing Troy, or Trash Troy as I like to call him, whispering in Andrea's ear, kissing all on her. And basically Amber is starting to notice that it might just be all fun and games to him. Like, he's not on anything genuine or serious, because everyone he talks to, he's like kissing on their cheek, or basically she's just like, nah. And she leaves, like she walks out, and she lets us know that the whatever connection she thought she had with him, like, it's done, it's a wrap, it's over. Yeah, so then we move over to the second group date of the episode, and there's a lot of people, so I wrote it down again. And we have Diedrich, Chris, Alexis, Kyra, AJ, Stacy, Trissa, Jason, basically the whole damn cast, you know, like almost everyone. And they go on a cooking class date. Dietrich lets us know that he's feeling Alexis. He likes her body, likes the way she dresses, and you know, I guess he likes the flyness of her attire. As usual, we see Stacy by AJ's side. I mean, at this point, I think she's made it pretty obvious that he's her number one guy. She's always like attached to his side. Like, she's obviously not going to give him any space to get connected to somebody else, or if she does, it's not going to be for long. So during the making of the mac and cheese and the okra, what we get is like some competitive banter between Stacy and AJ and Alexis and Dietrich, and he's a chef. And of course, Alexis takes it just a little bit too far, and I believe it was Stacy said something to her about her food being possibly dry, and so she was like, oh no, everything over here is moist, you know, just like being very extra and emphasizing on the moist. And so of course AJ notices, and he was just like letting us know that he's definitely not feeling that. It's coming across too strong, too aggressive, and of course all the sexual inferences were making him, I guess, uncomfortable. So he's just like not into it, not into her. So then we have Alexis, who moves over to Jason, and Tressa, who moves over to Dietrich. So there's a little bit of a switch, and Stacy seems to be getting along fine, and then Tressa and Dietrich, they're vibing. She gives him like a taste of her food, and he really likes it, and so he says to her like, oh, he thinks they should go out on a date, which she's super surprised, because in last week's episode, basically he let her know that he is no longer attracted to someone of her type. He used to be, but he's no longer attracted to her type. I think it's just a no-go. If someone tells you like they're not attracted to you and your type, I think you should just let it rest. But this week he's done a complete 360, and he's basically letting her know that she has the best personality amongst all the women, and so he would like to go on a date. And I mean, she seems to be with it, so let's see where that goes. So Chris likes Stacy, and Stacy and Chris were next to each other because, you know, the couples are constantly switching to get to know each other, and he's super into her, and he's telling us how much he likes her. And I don't think it was even 5 minutes, and Stacy basically hollers to Dietrich like, hey, can I come over there? And he's just left standing there. So it's safe to say like she's just not into him at all. So AJ and Kyra get to talking, and as we know, they have history, so the vibe was very light. She made a joke about too much salt being in his food, so I mean, we still can see like maybe there's some potential there, but I really don't think there is anything serious that's gonna come from it. But at least there's less animosity there. She says she still has a little bit of a grudge, you know, towards him. Anyway, that's that, and that date ends, and we switch over to a meeting at the men's lounge with all the fellas and Uncle Tommy, and basically he wants to know what's good, who are they attracted to, who are they not attracted to. And there was a little bit of a sweet moment where Jason basically let everyone know that, you know, Joel was really helpful. He was moving the other day, and, you know, Joel offered to just come by and help him. So I thought that was really nice. It means that they're building a brotherhood. So even in the end, if they don't end up leaving with, you know, love, at least they would have built some friendships or brotherhoods from this whole situation. Dietrich comes forward and basically lets everyone know, and Uncle Tommy know, that Tressa has moved up. Last week she was at his bottom, and this week she's in his top 4. So of course everyone's surprised, Uncle Tommy's surprised, and you know, AJ spoke about his date with Alexis. He was actually being very nice. He said like overall it was good vibes, but then he did mention that he was rather comfortable with some of the jokes, and then he said, you know, the way he sounded, it's as though it's not fully over, as if he's still willing to give it a chance, but for the most part, he's not into how she is. Jason spoke about Kyra, and of course it was all good commentary. He loves her look, he loves the way she dresses, he loves the way she speaks, yada yada yada. He likes her a lot. And he flat out said, you know, Uncle Tommy asked, is she your top? And he just basically let everyone know that, yes, that is my top woman. So far, so good. If everything goes well, maybe these two will end up together. Then we move on to Trash Troy, who speaks about his dates, plural, of course, the date with Andrea and Amber. And basically, he lets everyone know, you know, Uncle Tommy asked him, like, how was the date? What was the vibe with each of them? So, of course, he has a good vibe with Amber, but Andrea, he has a good vibe with her. But then with Amber, he said, even though she didn't say it, like, verbally, he could tell, like, she, you know, I guess she lost a bit of interest. She wasn't really into the whole kissing on the cheek thing. And so basically Tommy let him know, like, sir, the excessive kissing where you're going around kissing half the women, he was just like, if there are 10 women in a room, you can't go around kissing half of them, because for some people that's just too soon. And of course, if somebody likes you, that's not something they want to see you doing with somebody else. But he thinks it's a good way to kind of feel out if somebody's into him, but it's inappropriate. And basically at the end of talking to each guy, Uncle Tommy basically says, okay, so who are we feeling? Who are we not feeling? And so all the men tells, you know, who they're really feeling in their top, who they're really not feeling. And a lot of the guys pointed out that while they really like Tressa, they like her vibe, they just see her more as a sister, or, you know, the homie, that same stereotype chick where the fat chick or the comedy chick gets stereotyped being the homie or the friend. So they like her, but not romantically. But fortunately for her, I think it would be okay, because at least one person is interested in her. As we talk about Dietrich, he likes her. So the other name that came up was Andrea, and Dietrich mentioned not liking Chrysanthemum and Kyra, and they asked him why, because of course those are two of the more attractive women. And he was just like, look, you ain't feeling me, I'm feeling you, you heard? Like, very blunt, like, look, you're not into me, I'm not into you. Yeah, so in the end, Uncle Tommy lets everyone know, all the guys know, that they need to pick 2 women for the bottom, and then he's gonna, you know, in Ready to Love fashion, set up the dates, and then they'll let them know who goes home, you know, whoever goes out with the 2 women. So Dietrich takes out Tressa on a date, and then I believe it was David who took Andrea. So Andrea was feeling cute. She was like, she have on her booty shorts and her boots or whatever. And basically, you know how it goes, the talking builds up, and eventually David lets Andrea know that she's not ready to love, because the guys felt like she didn't really put herself out there. She wasn't very connected, which is true. She comes across very boring. So, I mean, she took it really well. She didn't have like a fit, or she wasn't rude or anything. She just said, okay, thank you. And she gave him like a high five. She left really gracefully. I appreciated that. And Tressa was just like, look, man, to Dietrich, don't ever do that to me again. Because of course she was nervous, because the way he was going, it seemed like she was about to go home. Honestly, if it wasn't for his interest in her this week, I think she would have gone home instead. So she's safe for this week, but let's see what happens next week. And at the end of the episode, of course, you know, we always get a little preview as to what is going to happen next week. It starts out with a preview of Amber and Chris. It starts out by showing us Amber and Chris basically doing like a little boxing date. I think they're gonna develop a real vibe, because it seems Amber is quite level-headed. She lets him know that she's a DA. And I think Chris is also quite level-headed. And of course, as we know from the previous season, he likes, you know, dark-skinned women, according to him. I think if they continue to talk and build something, we will see a good bit of a romance between those two. Then we saw a bit of a preview between Liz and David, who I already think have a great connection. I think they're gonna go strong for a while. And finally, in the preview, we see Alexis and Trash Troy. And she's basically letting him know, like, look, sir, you have way too many interests in terms of, yeah, we know this is a show where, you know, you're dating several people, but he's going around, like, you know, hugging and kissing on everyone. So that's basically what it looks like. She's basically let him know, like, that's not gonna work. And because he goes around telling everyone, like, oh, you know, you're my number one. So it ends with her asking, like, you know, like, keep it 100. Like, who is your actual number one? But yeah, guys, so that was it for Ready to Love this week, episode 3. I will be reviewing it every week moving forward. I know I started out a little bit late, but see you next week.